Morning everyone, week 38 and we're talking auctions. And where are the auctions going this spring and summer? Well, it looks like to me we're going to have, I think there were about 700 resi auctions last week. About 1200 in Melbourne. So that indicates to me that we're going to have a big auction market coming through spring and summer, all the way through to April, May next year. So I think there's going to be a little bit of a have and have-nots as well. So the challenges that we see, and it's funny, I use the American auction system as a guide, and we get pulled into obviously the stock and station side a wee bit, and a lot of the meat industry in the States, they went away from auctions, and funnily enough to contracts, and realised they're getting ripped off, so have come back now to auctions. And how that affects us is it's the same in property, where we went away from auctioneers, we went to digital AI and realised it was flawed. And a live auctioneer is a live auctioneer. It's worth the weight in gold. The other part of that message is that they still have to have some experience. There's no point in if they haven't had, we've got an amazing auxiliary auctioneer, and he's had thousands of auctions, and I believe if they haven't had in-rooms auction experience, they really don't know how to control the outcome. Not a rapid call, the outcome. The outcome is the highest price for the vendor, but also giving the buyers all a chance to participate. And you don't need to underquote to get auction activity. You know, if you've done your marketing correctly, which is we spend a lot of time on that, and that's why I'm now recruiting new people. And it really hasn't, over the last 5 years, it really hasn't been opportune time to train new staff, because they haven't been willing. The market's been too easy. But now the vendors, if they're paying the top commission, they're entitled to great service, and great service comes with training. And if the staff aren't trained on a daily basis, then there's no reason you should be paying top commission. And that's what you've probably seen. Our recruiting videos are out there now. We're in a massive recruiting situation now. My background was that one of the corporate chairmen was my auctioneer from time to time, and they had to come out on a Saturday and call auctions for us. You'll notice that our auctions are in rooms, and there's a reason for that, why we've gone in rooms. It's control. It's controlling the environment so that the willing buyer has time to bid, and also the vendor has, on behalf of the vendor, we have control of the environment as well, so that we maximize the sale price, and that's what we're employed to do. So our training, the training part, 39 years down the track, and I'm still training with the Missouri Auction School. I'm still training online daily. I'm still calling auctions myself on a daily basis, and my patter really hasn't changed. I have 2 or 3 different patters, but my focus is on selling the property. So, and that's quite a bit different to just concentrating on your banter, your auction banter, or being quick, or whatever it is. It's got to be the result. We are result orientated. So I don't care if it takes 45 minutes to call an auction. I don't care if I have to go and talk to a buyer as the auctioneer. So all those sorts of things taken into consideration. We've gone back to probably 1986 training, and our leading trainers from the States have got us back there, which is awesome. And it means that our vendors are getting a higher level of intense service to sell their properties. And that's why we do what we do. So, moving right along, yeah, we're going to be seeing a higher number, but I think the vendors have to be a little bit more educated about who they select. And that's not about just selecting us, but making sure they ask the right questions. And sitting down and going, well, okay, that makes sense to me. That's an auctioneer, that's an agent that's on my side. You know, and little things. There's little things that we do now that we're setting reserves right at the start. Our appraisal is what we feel is fair market value. We're not buying the listing and then underquoting to the buyer. And if a buyer wants to ask us what we appraise the property at, we're happy to disclose that, because it's an honest appraisal, and they can then give or take. We can be wrong, but we'll be honestly wrong. If there's a buyer out there for some reason that pays way over what we appraised it at, we can back up our appraisal. And we use different methods. We're not valuers, we're appraisers. Big difference. And as a buyer, you know, you'd want to get an appraisal done, a valuation done by a registered valuer, if you think it's under or over what you're willing to pay, or you're capable of paying. There's a difference too. So long and the short of it, I'm expecting more auctions coming through over the next 6 months. I expect us leading into December a higher volume, but not necessarily higher prices, depending on the experience of your auctioneer and the experience of your agent, and that they are doing 3 to 5 auctions a month, or they have done that over the last 10 or 20 years. And if they don't have that experience, that they have the training. So they're doing daily training on the auction system, you know, and that's calling, that's all sorts of things. It's controlling bidders, it's getting the finance ready for the buyers, making sure the buyers are approved and ready to bid on the day, that they've got their 10% deposit ready, that they can settle in 30 or 42 days, whichever you've selected or your solicitor's selected. All those things are taken into consideration by an agent that's going to plan your success as a lister. Now, as a buyer, we don't spend enough time, and you'll see my videos on how to bid at an auction. And I don't mean to waste anyone's time with that, but the main part of it is that we don't talk about enough. Chances are a bidder will only do it 2 or 3 times in their life, and yet there's no training out there for them. There's no guidance. There's no one telling you to, hey, call your auctioneer. If I am the auctioneer, I encourage all the buyers to call me, have a meeting, talk to me about your situation, tell me where your guidelines are. I encourage people to bid early so that they get a bit of practice. And I'll call auctions for training purposes, so they can come in and sit in and go, well, okay, I'll raise my hand and do all that, I know that. But they don't know the intensity. Sometimes I'll sit on their hands and think, oh, we'll wait until we get near our maximum. Well, it's too late. Have some practice early on. Bid below your maximum. Bid below what you think the reserve could be. Get in there, because you might be surprised that if you're bidding away, you end up being one of the top bidders. And remember, a successful auction for a bidder is buying the damn thing. You know, there's so many examples over the last 5 years. The evolution of the buyer's agent, or the we'll call them the buyer's agent, buyer's advocate. And very rarely do they buy the property for the client. I'll let that sink in. You're paying them a fee and they never buy them. They're not quick enough. They don't have any skin in the game. You're still paying them a fee for turning up. Now, they think they're a valuer, so they think, let's say the property or business is worth 10 million and it sells for 11. Well, in their humble opinion, it's worth 10 million. But they don't realise that by missing out for $1 million, you're back to stage one. You're back to out there looking. You're back to getting building inspections done, raising finance again, and that changes every month. All those sorts of things, because they don't have any skin in the game, they can go back to you and say, oh, well, at least you didn't overpay. Well, market rate is willing buyer, willing seller, and that's what an auction is. And a chance of maximising that in a short period of time. So when a farmer sends 3 truckloads of stock to the auction, he doesn't want 3 truckloads of stock coming back. He's selling it for market value and knows on the day that's what it was. So, and the buyer knows they've bought at market value. The next week, they don't care about it. So, one may have paid up or down on next week, it's over. So that's a big thing. And I encourage, if you're buying a house, buy it yourself. Get in, spend a bit of time, talk to the agent, have a meeting with the agent, talk to the auctioneer, have a meeting with the auctioneer. I have never refused a meeting with a buyer. I've never refused to do practice auctions for a buyer. And I can do that on Zoom. I can do it on Google meetings. And you can practice, as silly as this sounds, putting your hand up. You can practice stopping an auction and asking a question. All of the auctioneers I know over the last 40 years, Tony Fountain was probably the best at it. So much control, he could call 3 auctions at once. And if it stalled and there was just inquiries, he would park it, start calling the next one, then come back to the 2 that are sitting on the floor, bring them back, close them down, sell them. So all those things are possible just by communicating with your auctioneer, communicating with your agent as buyer. Vendors exactly the same. I'm happy to call an auction for the vendor. Go in, and with a vendor sitting there, I love vendors that attend. I know not all vendors can anymore, but when they're in attendance, I'll love to call you an auction, and you'll get used to my pattern. My pattern is we're all different. Some are rapid, some are slower. I'm more like Brian White, I suppose, because he was one of the first residential auctioneers that I'd been exposed to. I loved his pattern. It was slower, more intense, and gave the buyers time to buy. A rapid cooler can be so focused on being fast, they forget the buyers in a residential, or the buyers in land and motels, hotels and caravan parks. They don't do this very often, so they need time to think. And when you give them time to think, they tend to bid longer and bid higher. So that's the guidance that we've got. And if you've got any questions, we've got some wonderful new campaigns. We've revisited the whole shooting box, upgraded our website, upgraded our marketing campaigns. They're very punchy now. There's no discounted campaigns, although we did run a special for spring, for the spring September auctions. They are now over, so you gotta really invest in it, invest in the time and effort and money. An auction does cost, but boy, in 21 days you've got an unconditional contract. You're settling in 42 days. So as I said, an example, we're now listing for October. We've got let's see, we are, excuse me, about 23 days out from our close off for our October auction. So that's an indication that the system's working. We get in there, we do 3 weeks of marketing, auction on the 4th. It's in rooms, intercontinental, double bay. It's a fantastic thing. It has been since the 90s. I just love it. We do it monthly. We clear our stock and then we get ready for the next lot. So it's a different mentality. Give us a call, Brian, 0402970217, Brian at brianmcmanusrealestate.com. We'd love to give you an appraisal, give you a quote, get a pre-list kit out to you, and get it listed, get it ready to sell on the 31st of October, 11 a.m, 11 to 3 p.m. You get an allocated time too in our system, so that you know exactly, the buyers know exactly. We don't have buyers online for the whole auction, so it's locked in. You only have your buyers. We concentrate on that, and that's pretty important. And you'll find even in rooms the buyers turnover, so it's a smaller room, far more intense, a lot more control, and with the allocated times, then it's a matter of being very specific and focused on the sale of your property, or focused on you buying that specific property. We can focus in on 3, 4, 5, 10 buyers, opposed to a room full of 100 people and not knowing where the buyers are. So yeah, it's far better. And depending on who's doing the call, I love calling. Sometimes I'm busy with my own property, so I bring in Brian. Brian's an amazing caller as well. He gives us time, and he just doesn't give us time. He's focused on the result, and there's very few auctioneers that are willing to focus on selling the property under the hammer. They're more willing or more focused on a rapid call and moving on to the next auction. So when you get that sort of auctioneer, Tony Fountain was brilliant at it. He was only focused on one thing, and that was the gavel going down. So his clearance rates, I would say, would still be the highest in Australia. Certainly the best auctioneer that I've ever seen live. So anyway, moving right along, if you want to be in October's auction, give me a call, 0402970217. That's at double bay, intercontinental, 11 to 3, we have dinner afterwards, of course. You'll meet some of the staff, which is pretty cool. We have training. We have a training system every auction, so that's an important part of the process. But we have a lot of fun afterwards as well, and there's nothing wrong with a little bit of champagne, I might say. And if you are coming as a buyer or a vendor, ask us about the cheap rate at the Intercontinental Star overnight. I do, and it's dog friendly or animal. I'm not sure if it's animal. It is dog. So Richie will be at the auction. Richie stays with me for the night, and it's just an amazing venue, amazing hotel, and we're very proud to be back auctioning there. Love to hear from you. Give us a call, email, and let's take it from there. Thanks. Bye-bye.